Okay, so you're finally taking the plunge, huh? Bringing a dog home. Super exciting. But before you pick up that new furry family member,
Oh, yeah, the big day.
we got to talk about how to get the rest of the family ready for a change. I'm talking about the kids.
Right, right.
So it's all about setting everyone up for success, the dog and the little ones.
You got that right. And, kids, especially the littlest ones, they kind of see a dog as this big, cuddly, always wants to play buddy, right?
I can see that, yeah.
So that's where some pre-dog lessons on boundaries can really make a difference.
Totally. I was actually just reading through the advice from Paws and Play. They had a really good point about how important it is to explain to kids that dogs, well, they have feelings just like people do.
They do.
And they need their space too.
Absolutely. It's not all, fun and games, belly rubs, and playtime.
Right, exactly.
They need a little downtime too, just like us.
Makes sense. And sometimes those doggy signals for back off, they can be kind of subtle, right?
Yeah, you really got to watch for them.
Which is why I thought the suggestion from Paws and Play was so clever. They suggested role playing.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Like imagine this.
Yeah.
You're the dog and the kids practice, gentle petting and giving you space.
Such a fun way to get the point across, especially for little kids.
Right.
And it subtly reinforces your role as the leader in all of this,
Well, that's what you mean.
Like you're setting the example for how the kids should behave around the dog, calm and respectful.
Which makes total sense. Consistency is key.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay, so you've prepped the kids, the big day arrives, the dog walks through the door. What should happen in those first few moments?
I think the key word here is calm.
Okay, so no rushing up to the dog, all excited.
Exactly. Think controlled, definitely not a free-for-all of excited greetings.
Right.
I mean, imagine how overwhelming that first day can be for a dog. It's like new smells, new sounds, new people everywhere.
It would be like being, what's the word? Like being dropped in a foreign country where you don't speak the language.
You got it. And that's actually something that Pause and Play really emphasizes, that gradual introduction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, just letting the dog explore at their own pace, sniff around, kind of get the lay of the land.
Makes sense. Speaking of first impressions, let's talk about when the kids finally meet the dog. Any tips on, keeping things chill in those first few minutes?
Well, Pause and Play had a really interesting suggestion for that initial meeting. They said to have the kids sit quietly while the dog approaches them. So it's not the kids all rushing up to the dog.
Right.
It's more about establishing a sense of respect for the dog's space right from the get-go.
It's about letting the dog kind of come to them on their own terms.
Exactly. It's all about those first impressions, right? But it's not just about those first few minutes.
Right, because you don't want things to, unravel once the initial excitement fades.
Exactly. That's where setting boundaries comes in. It's about the long game.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I noticed Pause and Play had some really practical advice on that front. It's all about creating a structured environment where everyone feels, safe and secure.
Yes. Structure and consistency, those are so important for dogs, especially when they're adjusting to a new home.
Totally. And one of the tips from Pause and Play that really stuck with me was the idea of safe zones.
Oh, the safe zone, such a good one.
Right. It's about, carving out designated spaces for everyone.
Yeah, you could have a dog-free zone around your child's, Lego masterpiece, for example.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
And on the flip side, the dog gets their own designated space where they can retreat to when they need a break, maybe with their bed and a few favorite toys.
So it's like preventing territorial behavior.
Yeah.
And, potential conflict.
Precisely. And this can be especially important for rescue dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, imagine going through the upheaval of a shelter environment and then landing in a new home, having that secure space, that little sanctuary. It can make all the difference.
Oh, for sure.
It's about making them feel safe and loved in their new environment.
Absolutely. And speaking of feeling secure, I noticed that Pause and Play also talked about respecting the dog's need for alone time.
Yes, so important.
Because it is easy to get caught up in the excitement, right?
It is. Especially with kids. They're so excited to have this new playmate, this new furry friend.
Sure.
But dogs, just like us, they need their downtime, to recharge.
They need to get away from us for a little while.
Exactly. And teaching your kids to recognize those cues, maybe the dog is retreating to their bed, maybe they're yawning a lot, maybe they're licking their lips excessively. Encouraging your kids to recognize those cues can help them learn to respect those boundaries.
It's about teaching kids to read those subtle signals, which, they might not always pick up on.
Right, exactly. It's not always obvious, but with a little guidance, kids can definitely learn.
So how do we strike that balance then?
Hmm.
How do we teach kids to give the dog space without stifling the bond that they're building?
Well, I think that's where involving the kids in the dog's care can be really, really powerful.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about playtime.
Exactly. It's about understanding that owning a dog comes with responsibilities.
Right. It's like a privilege having a dog.
It is. And I love how Paws and Play put it. They talked about incorporating, age-appropriate tasks.
Oh, well, like what? Give us some examples.
Sure. So it could be something like helping with feeding
Okay, I like that.
or learning basic commands.
Yeah, the kids love doing that,
Right. Not only does it teach them responsibility.
which is a good life lesson in and of itself.
Exactly. But it also helps them see the dog as, more than just a plaything.
Right. It's like they're really contributing to the dog's well-being.
Exactly. It deepens their understanding of the dog's needs, and it really fosters that sense of respect.
And it's those little moments, right? They really add up.
They do. It's about building that bond, that connection. And speaking of bonding walks, good old-fashioned walks, Pause and Play really emphasize that, how much dogs thrive on that routine.
Yeah, there's nothing like the image of a happy dog on a walk tail wagging,
Yeah.
taking in all the smells.
Right. It's great exercise for the kids, too. A win-win for everybody.
Totally. We've covered so much ground from those first few moments to boundaries to responsibility.
Yeah.
Anything else parents should keep in mind when welcoming a dog into a home with kids? What are those golden nuggets of wisdom?
For me, what really stuck with me from Pause and Play were these three things: patience, consistency, and positive
This
reinforcement.
trifecta.
Right. Especially with kids. I mean, that's the key to making it work.
Yeah, you're not just getting a pet, you're adding a new member to the family.
Exactly. And every family is different, right? What works for one might not work for another.
So true. So it's about finding your groove, establishing those routines.
Absolutely.
Well, for anyone listening who's about to start this adventure of bringing a dog into a home with kids,
Oh, such an exciting time.
it is. Hopefully this deep dive has given you some things to think about and maybe even a little boost of confidence.
Definitely. Enjoy those puppy snuggles. Cherish those sloppy kisses.
They grow up so fast. To everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, embrace the chaos and the joy of having a dog in your life.